So those are pressuring profits because of how expensive they're getting. In addition to what's driving up the cost is Amazon, Apple, and Google are entering the bidding wars. ESPN will face pressure to keep what's important and let some properties go. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Thursday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on all things college football, pro football, Madden, EA, college football, the draft, anything related to American football, hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also hit the like button too. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So there are multiple things that are moving at the same time right here. Now, remember here, let's all make sure that we're clear about this, okay? It's April 2023. There's no realignment news. There's a bunch of Big 12 fans telling the Pac-12 that, oh my God, you guys are going to be on the CW, stuff like that. Listen, leave that over here. There's bigger things here because, unfortunately, as much as the Big 12 and the Pac-12 might not want to admit it, they are not the number one and or number two conferences in college football. So therefore, they wait for the SEC and the Big Ten to make their decisions, and then they react to the scraps from there. If the scraps are them, if the scraps are somebody else, whatever that situation is. However, I do think there's a couple of things that are intersecting at the same time here. So on one side of the coin, we have kind of Florida State, Miami, Clemson. They're upset at the fact they're not getting the same amount of money that Florida is getting, other partners that they're close to. And again, it's because the money is definitely over there on Florida side because they're with the SEC. Florida State, Miami, Clemson are with the ACC. The money is just not equally distributed there. That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is ESPN, Disney, Bob Iger. There's a lot of things we need to talk about here because, unfortunately, ESPN is potentially for sale. So, and here's a big thing. This one here is called from Fool.com, again, called the Motley Fool. This is not one saying that the ESPN is for sale. However, they are saying the fact that big tech names are snatching up lots of sports rights, drawing viewers away from cable. And the big thing here is that a lot of those big, media sites, Apple TV+, HBO Max, we also see YouTube TV, lots of things. There's lots of those little entities that want their own sports packaging out there because you bring in sports, you bring in subscribers, you bring in new subscribers. ESPN has obviously they have ESPN Plus, but at the same time they're having issues kind of attracting people and keeping them, especially with the issues that Disney and ABC is having kind of overall. So this article admits that ESPN is a profitable business itself. However, sports rights are pressuring profits because, and again, I talked to my boy Mark Rogers a couple of weeks ago there, and he basically said the most valuable thing at ESPN is not the media, personalities. It's not the equipment. It's nothing like that. It's a couple of pieces of paper, a couple of contracts between them and the conferences and whatever the associations are to provide the sports out there. So those are pressuring profits because of how expensive they're getting. In addition to what's driving up the cost is Amazon, Apple, and Google are entering the bidding wars. ESPN will face pressure to keep what's important and let some properties go. And we come over here to Financial Times, and it basically says Iger is stuck. Disney chief debates future of Hulu and ESPN. And again, right now, Disney is debating whether or not they want to keep those entities. They're underneath that umbrella. However, they can sell them off to reduce, losses in this and that, or to maybe get a big chunk of change up front, something to that degree. We come down here and check out a specific quote that he has. It says that ESPN is a declining asset. And Disney has a tough balance sheet. Can you invest in ESPN? And can you also buy the third of Hulu you don't have? Can you do all these things at a time when the market is saying, hey, I don't want you losing money? And a big reason why here, rising interest rates, more competitors asking for, subscribers. They're doing that through sports media contracts. There's lots of things right here that are headwinds on ESPN as a profitable entity. So that's the ESPN side. And again, ESPN is still doing good. ESPN obviously is knee-deep in the SEC. They're sold in for that. They're good to go there. They have a couple other entities there, including the American and the ACC. They're like, well, you're not the big fish that we want, so maybe we get rid of the not as profitable things and keep the profitable things. That's something they could be thinking about here. That is on the ESPN side. In addition to that, we also have pressure from the Big Ten. Anybody who doesn't know Big Ten information, college football fan at Genetics56, he's got a lot of really good information here. And again, have I vetted this information? I don't know, but I do know that these types of things, lots and lots of information here. It's presented in a very professional manner. And again, I haven't necessarily vetted all of it. However, I will say that it does follow a pretty good path here. So going down through this, it says, what's going on in realignment? In the Big Ten, I learned this afternoon that the Big Ten's goal with the hiring of Tony Petitti, I hope I said that name right, is to grow the Big Ten Conference into the biggest media brand in college sports. What does that actually mean? I broke it down in bullet points. Last summer, the Big Ten wasn't looking to grow the conference into the world's largest media brand. Now the conference has partnerships with CBS, NBC, and Fox, and a conference network. The Big Ten can spend more money and emphasis on its reach on a global scale. Tony has connections in all major markets. A lot of sports media broadcasters and network teams know Tony or have worked with him. These connections will be used. You can expect the Big Ten to add more ACC schools, most likely 3 to go with Notre Dame. I'm not aware of anything related to adding more Western schools, but as I am of now, as of today, expecting the Big Ten to add more ACC schools. I love the 16-team makeup, but I'm not in charge. And it's right here. You will see growth and improvement in the BTN in partnership with Fox, since Fox is the majority owner. And again, right here, you will see a push to expand the college football playoff to 16 and discussions about the Big Ten and SEC having their own playoffs. So that's perspective we have right here, okay? On one hand, ESPN's like, man, we need to make sure we're profitable. We might get sold off. We might sell assets that we have. That's one thing here, okay? You got external pressures on ESPN that are kind of hurting them and their profitability. On the other hand, we also have a new guy in the Big Ten. You guys thought Kevin Warren was optimistic. Right now, Tony Petitti, Tony P is what I'm going to call him. I don't like saying his last name. Tony P from the Big Ten he's doing the same. He might even be more of a hawk on the rest of the conferences than Kevin Warren was. And here we are on CBSSports.com from an article from Dennis Dodd a couple weeks ago. And this is from Michael Alford, the AD of Florida State, basically saying, if we're driving the network, we should have more. We drive the appearances and the revenue. Our biggest alumni base is in South Florida. Not everyone understands. We're okay when we're $15 million behind. He's talking about for the Florida Gators. $30 million is a different deal. It's really interesting to look at this map. Now, again, it's not super important when you get to these high levels of college football, but think about it. If you add 3 here, so right now we have the kind of like the teal is the ACC and the green is the Big Ten. At this point, though, I think what they would do, and again, nothing would be a bigger shot across the bow of the SEC than coming down here and picking up Miami, coming over here and picking up Florida State, picking up, I would probably say North Carolina, add a new market in there, and then also picking up Notre Dame. Now, again, I was thinking about maybe picking up Virginia here and there. I do know that, North Carolina is an AAU member. Virginia is an AAU member. They added in Nebraska, the Big Ten did, who is now no longer an AAU member. So it's not a 100% indication that we'll do something like that. However, I do know that if they add 4 more, get to 20, wouldn't be surprised if it was Notre Dame, Florida State, Miami, get right down here into SEC country, in addition to North Carolina, which is kind of on their own island there. Again, I know people might be saying, what about the grant rights with the ACC? What about the grant rights of ACC? That is a very, very important thing to remember here, is the fact that it's not an easy exit in this situation. There's going to be 10 gajillion phone calls that would have to happen to make this work. However, let's make sure the precedent is down here. Come down here and make sure we have this situation here. The ACC is locked into its deal for another 14 years to 2035, 2036 with ESPN. Important there, ESPN losing money, not as many subscribers, might need to soften up all of their liabilities that they have, including potentially an agreement with the ACC, which only a couple of teams are really valuable. That's one thing. However, they would basically take their portion of the ACC. They would lose some of those teams and then get them back by, the Georgia Tech and Clemson going over to the SEC, something like that. So again, they would lose the fat of the deal, the Boston Colleges, they would lose the Dukes, the Wake Forest, something like that, but they would be able to pick up other teams with that, also sell off an asset. That's something that could happen here, but it all have to be made up on the fly, because remember here, unlike typical coaches' contracts, which include language about what happens if the agreement is terminated by either side, the short document, again, the ACC agreement was only 4 pages long. The short document does not include any explicit instructions for how a school or schools would attempt to exit the agreement. And again, for the most part, there's no court in the land that will basically say there's no exit written into the agreement. Oh, yes, you're stuck forever. That's not how the law works. It would have to go through a couple of things there. I bet they would negotiate some sort of buyout. There have been other people out there who have said that the ACC, if they have 8 of the 15 members vote to leave, they can void the contract out. That's one way. I suspect, though, that ESPN, they're in a tight spot. They might need to just handle it themselves. Now, I was wrong when I thought that the Oklahoma and Texas were going to stay till the end of the agreement. They were able to negotiate it. Granted, they only moved the end date up 1 year. But if you think about that, now, ESPN, hurting on their money right now. Disney might be selling them. They might need to sell some of their assets. They're already knee-deep into the SEC. They've got their baby. Maybe they want to get rid of the ACC. They do that. It opens up realignment again. The Big Ten comes a calling, and everything happens again here. That's the situation here. So, is ESPN going to start a chain reaction to where ESPN sells off some of their, dissolves the agreement between the ACC for a certain amount of money? Then those teams get picked up by the Big Ten and the SEC. The other teams, maybe they stick together. Maybe they go to the Pac-10, the Pac-12. Who knows, man? But I do know that there's a lot of things they're connecting at the same time here. It will take several months for any of these to happen, but that's what the rumors are right now. All right, guys, get in the comments right now. What do you think of all this? There's a lot to work through here. And again, this is hypothetical, but it's one of those things where you see the fact that everything's kind of lining up for ESPN's in trouble. They might need to soften up their balance sheet. They want to negotiate some sort of buyout. There's lots of things that are interacting right there. What do you think will happen? Get in the comments right now and let me know. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Do all that. I really appreciate it. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys later. I am out.